back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name is Miranda, and this has been requested for me to do. I really wasn't going to because I did already upload a video pretty much using this palette, but it didn't have an actual review. But that is going to be the Anastasia Beverly Hills Subculture palette. This released on July 25th on the ABH website. I know that the palette is going to be coming to Ulta and Sephora websites. I don't know the date though, and then later on in August, I'm pretty sure they'll be in stores as well. Personally, I recommend waiting until they're in stores. There's been so much controversy with this palette. It's kind of ridiculous how people are literally fighting about this palette. If you like it, basically people say that you're lying and you're sucking up to the brand to pretty much stay on their PR list. And if you hate it, you either bought a fake palette, or you don't know how to use it, or you just suck. And it's like, where's the in-between of people having opinions on things? And the Subculture palette is pretty much the sister to the Modern Renaissance palette, which is this right here. This released last summer, I'm actually pretty sure. So it's been a year since that's been out. The Subculture palette retails for $42, which is the same as the Modern Renaissance. Both have 14 shades, and the Subculture palette looks like this. It does come with a brush too. I don't know what happened to mine. It got lost in the abyss of my makeup desk. But it's pretty much the same kind of brush that comes with the Modern Renaissance palette, where it's like a flat, more dense packing brush, and the other side is a more fluffy for blending. But this palette has 3 shimmers. It's got Adorn, Electric, and then Cube, and the rest are all mattes. So I really like this palette. The color scheme is absolutely beautiful. I really love the color Axis and Edge. I remember when I first saw pictures of the palette, when it actually got leaked, apparently someone with Anastasia, who was with the company, pretty much leaked out a photo of the palette before it actually was even officially shown. But yeah, I'm sure you guys have seen pictures of this floating around the internet when it wasn't supposed to. But I remember seeing the shade Axis and Edge, and I love yellow shades, as you guys know. But also Axis is just a wonderful deep teal. I don't have any shades like that already. As well as Untamed and Destiny, also just colors that I really don't have already. So I was very interested in getting the palette just because it's very different from anything that I already have. I will do swatches. Personally, I don't think swatches make a difference in, they don't represent a palette to full capacity. I don't think just because something can swatch really bad, but when it's applied on the eyes, it can be really good, and vice versa. Swatches can be amazing, but then performance actually sucks. So I don't think finger swatches really help. Like arm swatches and stuff don't represent how it actually performs on the eye, which is where you're putting eyeshadow. It's where it matters. But my initial first thought when I first used this palette, I filmed a video on that Friday that I got it, and I'm not gonna upload it. I didn't even bother to look at it because I absolutely despised how it turned out. Axis, Fallout Central. It got literally all underneath my eye. I tapped off excess, so it's not like I was just going straight from brush to my eye. I did tap off excess, and it's one of those shades where it's so unforgiving that you have to use concealer to get rid of it. You can't just swipe it very gently. Usually with any fallout, with any other palette I have, you can just take a brush and just go sweep, sweep really gently, and then it goes away. Axis, not so much. I feel like Rowdy is the exact same way. Both of these shades have the worst unforgiving fallout I've ever experienced, ever. I could use a black eyeshadow from a Too Faced palette and that fallout would swipe away, while these little fuckers won't. Other than that, they're really pretty. That's the thing. The colors, great. The color payoff, great. But they're so powdery and so chalky, and it's ridiculous how much worse this palette is compared to this palette, but it has been confirmed that the main ingredient in the Miranda Renaissance is mica, which is in most powder shadows, while the main ingredient in this palette is talc, and it says that it may contain mica. Talc is pretty much the pigment is not as put together. These remind me more of loose pigments. That's what it is. Like, one tap makes powder go all over the place, and the fibers within those elements, they're not as close together. I read this online or something. While with mica, those elements are much more put together, so they're not as slippery slidey, and they don't fall apart as easily, while these crumble practically in your hand. Just something to keep in mind, which is why I recommend waiting until Sephora and Ulta get these palettes in store so you can touch them, so you can look at them, so you can take those little applicators and punch them, and you can see how much fallout this palette has. It's ridiculous. Over the past almost week, over the past 6 days, pretty much, I have been playing with it more and using it more gently, I guess. And over time, it has improved, in my opinion. And I mean, like, I'm just using it differently, I guess. I'm being more careful. You basically have to be super patient and very slow when using these shadows, which for an everyday type thing is pretty unrealistic. If you're in a hurry, you can't sit here and mess with this palette because it takes a longer amount of time than if I were to make a look with this. Granted, the Miranda Renaissance does have fallout, but it's not nearly as much as this, and it makes a huge difference. Plus, some of these shadows are really hard to blend out. Axis Rowdy, I feel like, definitely. Basically, when you place some of these colors down, they don't blend as nicely as these ones do. Sometimes it just seems like they just stick where you put them down. And that's great to have a dark pigment where you put it, but when you can't blend it out, it just looks muddy, it looks blotchy, it looks patchy, it looks horrible. And with a palette, especially Anastasia, where this is not cheap, they're a high-end brand, it's just kind of unacceptable when it comes down to it. Drugstore stuff, sure, that shit can be patchy all at once and not blend. $42 palettes that have been in the works for who knows how long, you just kind of expect more. I think most people that don't like this just had really high expectations, and that's why they don't like it, because it doesn't live up to the Miranda Renaissance, which is a cult favorite basically, where most people and their mom have that palette and love it to pieces. And then they release this and it's just like, what is it? But the mattes are really creamy and are really pigmented. I don't complain about the color payoff because it's great. I'll swatch Edge just right now. Like, they're really great. They do swatch really nicely and they are very soft. But these shadows are kind of too soft to the point where they can be really hard to work with. And when it comes down to it, a lot of people won't reach for this because it just takes too much time. Now, the glitter metallic shades are a joke. I've seen multiple videos where some people are getting really good finger swatches. I don't know how, because my 3 shades suck. They just suck. I don't know how people are getting like really good finger swatches at all, honestly. Like Cube, I mean, I can dig my finger in here for hours on end and it just doesn't do anything. How are you supposed to put that on your eye? It doesn't swatch. I don't know how people are getting any payoff with any of the 3 shimmer shades. I don't get it. Acorn, which I'm calling it Acorn because it looks like a fucking acorn. It looks really nice on the finger, but it swatches horribly. I don't understand how anyone is getting good color payoff. I've used wet brushes, I've used wet fingertips. Literally nothing works. I'm never going to use these 3 shades ever. But electric does look really good over top of Axis. In the look that I did, this color, it probably is not meant to be by itself, but I feel like it's definitely hinted that it should be used by itself and can be. It doesn't. It's absolutely horrible. The color payoff is not there. But it looks really good layered over top of darker shadows because it really makes it pop on top of that. Like if I did a black smoky eye and then put electric over top of the black, that would look so amazing. Probably will do that for around Halloween or something. But by itself, I don't understand. If you have a deeper skin tone, it probably will look wonderful. On my white ass, it won't. A lot of people were complaining about the palette, that they were having similar issues where it's just powdery mist and it's ridiculous. And Norvina on Twitter, who helped make the palette, obviously, she basically said that customer service would take care of you and you could return or get a refund or exchange it for a new palette, because I don't think it's been said that there are bad batches, though some people are saying that there's bad batches, and like if you look at your batch code or whatever, some ones have specific numbers that are good batches and other ones that have another number are the bad ones. I don't really know. I think that's not officially said or confirmed, but yeah, basically Norvina said that if you were to contact customer service, that they would take care of you. I did actually email customer service, and my reply to that they sent me was basically how to use the palette. And one thing that I just think is so funny is that they literally say not to use a fluffy brush in these shadows, but the brush it comes with has a fluffy side. So what are you supposed to use for your crease? You don't use a packer shade to put shadow in your crease. You use a fluffy brush so it's easy to blend out. I don't understand why they would tell you not to use specific brushes with these shadows. And for the metallic glitter shades, they say to use a wet brush to get that real metallic look. There's nothing metallic about these. It's actually the biggest joke ever that I've ever seen. You shouldn't have to use a wet brush to get any payoff, and even when I do, it doesn't. Maybe it's just my palette, because some of them are really good and some of them suck. The mattes are fine. I can deal with it. It's whatever. It's just ridiculous that so many people are having issues and so many people are not, that it's just a huge inconsistency and that needs to get fixed pretty soon. But I just think it's kind of stupid that Anastasia would basically just send an email of how to use the palette. If that was necessary, they should be sending out those instructions with the palette so people are not having to contact them to begin with. Just my thought. I'm not going to return my palette because I'm not going through the struggle of trying to return it. I've used it already. I'm not going to pay for shipping to get it sent back just to get a new one. It's just a hassle on my part that I'm not going to go through with. But the packaging is really cute. I really do like the velvet. I like that it's a darker color because even if you get shadows on it, you can pretty much just wipe them off and it won't stain. While the Modern Renaissance is this nice light purple color, whereas you can see it's just messy. Not the best idea, but the darker one is really pretty. And of course, like I said, the colors are really nice. I really like this color scheme, and I will keep this palette because, again, I don't have shadows like these darker teal green ones, and it's really nice. It's just convenient to have in your makeup collection if you don't already. However, I do highly suggest that if you are thinking about getting an Anastasia palette and you don't already have the Modern Renaissance, I would pick up this one instead of this one. At least until you can see it in store for yourself, swatch for yourself, and actually just see them in person instead of ordering online. Maybe by the time they're in Ulta and Sephora, they will have them more consistent as far as formula goes. I'm not really sure what the whole deal is and what happened. But now we will jump into swatches. Again, they don't represent how they actually perform, but people like swatches, so that's why I'm doing them. But yeah. But as you guys can see, they swatch really beautifully. The color payoff is amazing. If you want to see how I actually use this palette, I will have a little eye in the sky for here. Also, I will be uploading a video with me using both the Modern Renaissance and the Subculture together. That will be out soon, as well as the video that I did today on this look, again also with the Subculture palette, just a more wearable, not using Axis tutorial, where it's definitely more suited for the everyday person who isn't going to be doing crazy, dark, intense looks. So I hope you guys are looking forward to that. I will continue to play around with this palette. The more I use it, the more I am enjoying it. Just, you do have to be more patient with it, which I am willing to work with the palette. It's not going to be the worst thing in the world. It's definitely one of the more disappointing palettes I've ever used, just because the first time I used it, I did not like how my makeup looked. It was insane how much I hated using that palette and just how crazy the fallout was. But yeah, I hope this video was helpful. I guess overall my opinion on the palette is that I do like using it. Will I use it every day? No, because it doesn't have the colors that I would use every day. Most of these colors are more for, at least for me personally, more intense and bold looks that I don't do every single day. Edge and New Wave and Roxy I will use on a regular basis, as well as Dawn for a nice crease shade. But those three are colors I definitely can see myself using regularly. The rest are more for fun, more bold, intense looks. But overall, I do think it is a good palette for the sense that it has colors that I need. As far as the quality goes, it definitely is a downgrade from the Modern Renaissance, but again, I'm willing to work with it, so I don't know what that really means. I like it, but I don't. It's kind of an in-between. I'm kind of indifferent about it, I guess would be a good word to describe how I feel about it. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you very, very much, and I will see you in my next video. Bye!